Welcome to the virtual towers of binary Arcadia, where the games go on long into the night. Greetings, BArcadians. Thank you for joining us for the fourth update of our BArcade build. We're getting there, not long to go now. Rich, do you want to tell us a little bit about what is due in this episode, what we're going to see?
Yes, and I'd like to just start out by saying I know this update has taken quite a long time compared to the other ones, but we've just been so busy with stuff on the channel, games that we've done, Christmas, which means a million social gatherings. It's just been difficult to fit it in, but I have now got to the stage where we can update you on the project. So what are you going to see in this update? So we got to paint the barcade, so we've gone obviously black, which we discussed before, and then we've got the full assembly of the unit. Unfortunately, we are still waiting for the software on with tabs, so there won't be any Pi news in this update.
No, we'll talk in the outro about some options we have, but at the minute we're still just holding off because there's no mad panic in terms of committing to the software. But yeah, no, I think this is going to be an excellent episode, isn't it, Rich? Just to see more or less the finished article, get that kind of satisfaction of. Well, we've already leaked a couple of pictures, haven't we, really, online? We should be candid.
And you may have seen them online, but yeah, definitely, I think, I would say the goal that we set out to achieve at the start of the look of the machine, I think we've done a really good job of, and I'm really pleased with the job that we've done, basically. So, and I hope you all think the same.
I don't want to undercut the climax, but it's certainly worthwhile sticking with this one, BArcadians. It's spectacular, no doubt about that. And cool, I can say that because I didn't do most of the building work, so I'm not blowing my own trumpet on that one. Rich's credit.
Cool, well I guess let's cut to me starting to spray.
Away we go.
So today we are going to be starting the painting on the cabinet. As you can see, I've moved into the garage, which I thought was an ideal place to paint it. There's everything we've got to paint, so obviously the barcade. We've got all of the little accent pieces, button, logos, speaker grills, the carriage, the flap, the rear tray, and then this is a selection of things we're going to be using. Sandpaper, wood filler, we've got some surface cleaner for the metal parts, some masking tape. That's the paint I've chosen, grey primer, and we've gone for a satin black. And then obviously we've got plenty of sandpaper and finishing abrasive material ready to sand it up. So the first job is to sand it up, which I've actually done already. So the next job is to clean it all down and get some undercoat on it. So grey undercoat, and then let's get going. So everything is now ready to paint. The first coat of undercoat, I've masked off the areas that we're going to leave in the raw. So that's these edges. And then those edges, so that's all masked off. Some parts I'm going to have to paint the underside, then the outside. Some parts I've hung so that I can more easily spray them. So it's time to undercoat. So first job, grey primer. So everything's been undercoated and then rubbed down, and then the metal parts and the carriage has been blacked. The main body, there's been a few areas where I've had to fill some little nicks and stuff in the wood, which I've done, and then obviously giving that a good sand down, which means we're ready for the last coat of undercoat on that before it starts its first coat of black. And then you'll notice here I've got a little crack to fill in this. I've got one more coat of undercoat before I sand that down, fill that, and then that'll be the end of the filling, and then these last bits can go black. So I've got one more coat of black to go on the bits in the background, and then I've got one coat of undercoat on these pieces, and then 2 coats of black. Time for some black. Right, so here's where we've got to. I've screwed in the joysticks and the buttons, blue and red, looking cool. I've also put the buttons in at the front, like so. I've glued on the BA speaker grills, and then I've drilled through and put the little nails in so that they look really cool. Both sides. Got a little bit of tidying up to do where I put pencil mark on it. And then underneath, you can see here's all the wiring. I've taken the bottom off here just to make it a bit easier, and we've designed it so the bottom comes off quite easily. So there's all the wiring there for the 2 sets of buttons. And then there's a little micro board that sends the information to the Raspberry Pi. And that's for the other side. I've attached the power cord to the extension lead, which will be butted on the underside of the base. Yeah, it's just a case of putting the base on now, and then I think we've got screen and carriage to go in. So we're getting to the point where we're coming to the end of assembly. So one of the things I need to do is thread the cables that are going to keep the controllers in, but they're also going to charge the controllers. So as we've already established, the controllers are going to sit in like, how annoying. The controllers are going to sit in like this, and then you're going to take them out, and then they're going to sit back in and you can take them out. I'm going to use a little staple to hold these in place. I've already threaded these 2, but I've got these 2 still to thread. So we're just going to thread these through. I've literally drilled some holes, got some little cable ties. So up through these. Into the spot. I'll clip it into the controller to make it easier to work out where it needs to be. So that's pretty much the same as the other side. So then it's just a case of tightening the cable tie up basically. Fantastic, so that's that one done. And then I'm just going to try and follow very similar from the other side so that they look very similar. Again, tighten the cable tie up. Again, this one, try and keep it similar to the other side so it looks tidy basically. Nice, and then this one I can't do up because I need to thread this other cable through. So on the inside of this one, in through this other one, and again I'm just going to use the controller to just hold it in place while I cable it up. So try and get it similar to the other side. Again, it's pretty similar. Like so, and then again, last one, again try and get it similar to the other side. And there we have it, that's cable tied up ready. These are going to go to a charging port, which will be down inside, but yeah, that's them done. So obviously I've still got to hold these down, and then there's some little cover plates that will go over, just screw over these just to cover these wires. So there we go. So having sorted the cables, I have then glued the USB charging points in place and added this little cover plate. I am going to paint these screws black, and then now, as we can see, the controller just drops in lovely, which is great, and then obviously comes out, it's fine. So this is now ready to go in. I just need to paint them screws. What else have we done? I have glued the logo onto its white piece, so that's ready to go in. All I need to do on that is just finish the switch piece, which is what I'm working on now. So I've soldered all the LEDs together. I've not filmed that because I'll be honest, I'm not very good at soldering. So I didn't think it would be good to do a video of me doing bad soldering. Yeah, I've got strips to go in, and I'm currently working on the switch, which this is part of. Which when you press this, it will basically press a little switch, which is here, and then this will turn it on. So that's what I'm currently working on. Last few bits really, and then I've got the screen to go in, and I've got to tidy up the wiring inside, and then I think we're pretty much done. Right, so that is the LEDs put in for the marquee. As you can see, they're all linked together. One passes into the other, passes into the other. So it's like a loop, so it's like this. And then top one down, and then that goes down through here to the illuminated switch, and then that goes to the power supply unit. I've added these little connectors because it was getting a little bit too difficult with the on-off button illuminated logo in. So I've then added connectors to the logo so I can take that off separately basically, and I think this is ready for final assembly. I just need to add the front to this, and then I think we're ready to put it together. And then this is what it looks like when it's illuminated. Looks cool, doesn't it? And then this is obviously the button to turn it on. It's quite firm. You have to press it quite hard. It maybe needs the springs changing for a lighter spring, but yeah, I'm really pleased with how that's come out. So yeah, like I say, just get the screen in, and then we're pretty much there. Right, so That is the gubbins for the speakers attached. I've just screwed them with some little M5 nuts as standoffs so that they're then screwed down. The volume controller screwed to the side there, so if you want to change the volume you can easily get to it from the back. I've added the USB hub here, which is going to charge the controllers. And then I have painted the screws like I said I was going to, and I've attached the carriage and the little bits of elastic that close the lid once it's all closed. And I've tried to make the cables as neat as I can where they come down and go to the charging point. So the next thing to do is get this extension lead onto these standoffs, which I'm going to screw on, and I'm not sure how I'm going to attach this. Maybe I'm going to attach this with cable ties to it, and then it's just a case of putting everything in and then putting the screen in. I think we're done. Right, that is the extension lead all strapped in on them blocks. So that just leaves the screen. Now I've had to take the carriage off to get the screen in, bit of a oversight on my behalf. So screen in, tidy the wires up, and then we're done. Just to wait for the Pi software and over to tabs, I guess.
Well, there we have it, Barcadians, the completed cabinet, and I think you'll agree that it looks stunning. So kudos to Rich, round of applause there, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Please do let us know what your thoughts are on the build, on the kind of final result. I think we both really appreciate your input on that, and you know, please ask any questions about the process from start to finish. We're always happy to provide our feedback on that and maybe point you on the right path if you have any similar projects of your own. So Rich, this little outro then, I think what we'll focus in on any challenges you've faced, major successes that you've had, and then just an update really on the project as a whole.
So one of the main things that actually held this update up was the fact that I'd ordered some plastic parts for the marquee and the button that makes up part of the marquee. And there was a bit of a lead time on that, and I think the company I'd ordered from were insanely busy, and I was saying to them, listen, it's for a home project, don't worry about it, just get them done whenever you can. So there was a bit of a hold up on that, and what they've done is amazing, so I'm really thankful to them on that.
Is this the same company that were also dealing with our prize for the next giveaway, Rich? That
yes,
might have factored into
yes, yeah. So I tagged that. There's a piece of plastic that we needed for that, which you'll see in due course, and I tagged that onto the order, so that's why there was possibly a hold up. But yeah, all good, we got it in the end, and I think you guys hopefully will agree that the marquee has really come out lovely. The design that Tabs came up with, it just looks stunning now. It's all illuminated, and the colours, and it all just works fantastically well together. So kudos.
Well, it wasn't all me. I had some help as well, but it's just lovely to see it realised.
Definitely.
In the way you've executed it as well. It's a clinical execution, mate. Not to throw too much, praise at each other. We don't want this to turn into a brown nosing session.
I love it. But yeah, challenges. To be honest, I thought the paint job was going to be more difficult than it was. I was really dreading the paint job, and actually the paint went really well. Lots of sanding between coats and spraying and checking bits, filling bits to get the real nice finish. But actually the painting went a lot better than I thought it was going to. So that was really pleasing. And then when we got on to the assembly of things, it was just a case of methodically going through it, soldering. I think I say in the video that I'm not the best at soldering. so it tends to be a little bit messy, but I got there in the end. It's one of those things, I don't do it very often, so I sort of lose my touch with it. So, but I got there in the end, and then it's a case of doing all the wiring. There is more wiring to do on it, because the button that turns the Pi on, at the moment those wires don't go to anything because the Pi's not in the cabinet, and lots of the wires that will be joined to the Pi are just loose in the back at the moment. But once the Pi software is sorted and we can get the Pi in there, then I think we're pretty much ready to go. Everything is in there, powered up, ready to go. It's just a case of plugging stuff in once obviously we get the Pi.
And while that thought's buzzing around, perhaps we'll just have a bit of a chat around that. We've got some options. There's definitely some unofficial, I think, Retropie images about for the Pi 4 at the moment, but they're unofficial. I don't think they're necessarily optimized. They'll do a job for us, but
so in essence, we're still waiting for the official Retropie 4. So it runs on a Raspberry Pi 4 board. We're still waiting for the official drop of that. I know them working incredibly hard to get that done, but it's taking time to get it all right. But as you've said, Tabs.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, as we've pointed out before, and we've realised ourselves that these guys are doing it part-time in their spare time, and it's going to take as long as it takes. We've been towing the line as much as we can because the cabinet build was always going to be a task in itself. So at this stage, we are kind of getting to a crossroads where, to keep the momentum of the build going, we perhaps might look at, well, we've got two options: go Pi 3. And we've got an official image for that and we know it works. However, that would curb the kind of scope of the project in terms of, well, we wanted to get things like N64 games, Dreamcast games perhaps playable on it. So
the only thing that we would say is that would very much be a stopgap to fill the void of not being able to use the Barcade and properly complete it while we waited for the Pi 4 software.
And that's it, Rich. I think me and you, we'd like to, as completionists, we'd like to, properly tie a bow on it, feeling like it's hit that mark that we set out at the very outset. Obviously, we're prepared to compromise because at the end of the day, we don't want to keep, the audience necessarily waiting for another 2 years or however long it might take.
Well, and we want to play it. We want to film some content on it. We want to do some head-to-heads on it. We want to use it for what it's supposed to be used for. So. Yeah,
absolutely. We've got these versus modes planned, haven't we? So
exactly.
They should be very entertaining. So, yeah, we're just going to have to see over the next few weeks. I mean, Christmas is here now, so I don't think there's going to be anything too intense going on with the Barcade build generally. So we'll just see what the new year brings us in terms of potential updates from Retropie.
Absolutely. And then from the cabinet side of things, the only things I've really got to do aesthetically is it's quite dusty from all the work and fiddling about with all the electronics, so it could do with a good wipe down, including the screen. I need to change out the springs on the button because they're way too stiff. You've really got to press very forcefully on it to do that at the minute, and I'm looking at them at the moment, and I just need to varnish the bare edges of the plywood just to give them a nice finish on them because at the moment they're bare.
How many months are we in at this minute, Rich? I mean, it's good to review that because we did once label it a potentially 3-month project, which was probably a bit ambitious, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we started in September. I think we sort of lined the project up in August and we started it in September, and I think we're probably sort of 3 months in from the time when I first cut some wood to this point.
That's not bad then.
And there's been quite a bit of downtime, so I think that's where we're at on it. So yeah, I don't think it's been too bad. It's just we've had to sort of curtail a few bits because of all the other sort of things that we've had going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hopefully, I would like to think we'll get it done in the next 3 months.
Oh yeah, well I really hope
so. Hopefully we'll undercut that by some amount as well.
It's just like at the moment it's really frustrating. We've had people round and they've gone, oh my god, that's amazing, and then you're like, oh, it doesn't
do anything.
It doesn't really do anything. So you want to go, oh well, it looks amazing, but look what else it can do, and at the moment we can't do that. But obviously that's just a waiting game. It's one of those things. we were very early to get a Pi 4. I think it had only been out literally a few weeks when we bought our Pi 4. So it stands to reason that the software is going to take a little bit of time to catch up.
And something just to kind of foreshadow into the next episode or the next few episodes, I'm sure at one point we're going to do a focus on what we're hoping to do with the actuator is to trigger a piece of music as that extends out of the top of the BArcade. And we've had a very generous contributor who has actually written us some code that will enable us to do that and tie it up with the Pi 4 itself. So yeah, that is going to be a challenge because it's a totally new area for me. But hopefully with the help of the community, it's something we can achieve, and that will be another really kind of spectacular little finishing piece to it, which again will really be impressive wearing it, Rich, when you've got friends around. You can kind
definitely
of showcase
Absolutely.
that.
Definitely.
So yeah, that's a little tease for something upcoming. And I think, yeah, that's about it. Thank you to everybody at the moment who's just stuck with us and who's still engaged with it. I mean, Rich, again, I think you're always open, my friend, to, you know, people asking about, you know, specifics about the build and the project.
Oh, absolutely.
So if there's anything we've not quite covered off as much as you'd like in the updates so far, just give us a shout.
And actually, if somebody wants to build this exactly as we build it, I mean, I'm guessing someone would want to make the marquee different because that's obviously unique to us. But I've literally got, you know, drawings of the whole thing that I could give to someone. I've got links to all of the stuff we've got in there. I know you've got some links to some of the things we've got in there, so literally we could give someone everything they needed to build this project on their own. So, you know, if anyone is interested in that, just hit us up with an email or a comment, and we'll sort you out with all the links and all the details, so you can make a project pretty much exactly the same.
Fantastic. And just a thank you to everybody else who's contributed. We'll have to do a credits reel at the end of this series, Rich.
Absolutely.
Just shouting out everybody who's said who's contributed in one shape or another to the project.
Definitely.
So I think, is that about it, Rich? Any closing statements, or should we sign off?
No, I think that's it. You might, depending where we go with the software, it might go a little bit quiet on this project for a good few weeks, but it sort of depends where we get to. If we come up with a solution that's relatively quick fix for the software scenario, then, you know, potentially, you know, sort of 3 or 4 weeks time, we could potentially have an update on the project and potentially some software running on it. But, you know, it's all up in the air, so don't hold us to that one, guys.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. As always, please do give us a like. It really helps to support the channel. And yeah, stay abreast with everything Rich and I put out. Hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to ring the bell for notifications as well. And I think that's about it. Another one for the archives.
Stamped and completed.